All right, guys, we've been a big fan of this next guest and his incredible work for a long, long time. He's worked with some of the best in the game, coaching fighters such as Jon Jones, Carlos Condon, Holly Holm, Cub Swanson, just to name a few, with the iconic gym Jackson Wink. Man, it really makes me happy, Casper, to say this, but Brandon Gibson is joining us on Submission Ready for the first time from the zoo. Are you in the zoo parking lot right now, Brandon? Is that what's going on? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's a Sunday fun day, and I just took my boy to the incredible zoo here in Albuquerque, and we actually saw a great few Australian species, some wombats, some saltwater crocs, Tasmanian devil.
Oh, awesome,
so yeah, it's been a good Sunday so far. It's a good Sunday.
You've seen more Aussie wildlife than we have in recent times. So here's a funny way to kick this off, right? What people don't know is we were supposed to chat last week, right? And then one of your new students came and deprived us of some Brandon Gibson goodness. He was running a little bit late, which is okay. It happens. You were very cool about it, all right? And then you sent us a photo. Little did we know the new student was Tony Ferguson himself. So obviously we had a certain line of questioning. We're going to go through your career and this and that and all the cool things that you've been doing, and we still will. But now the elephant in the room, we have to address it, man. Tony Ferguson and Jackson Wink. How did this come about, and when did this come about?
You know, Tony and I have been buddies for several years now, and we've always talked and seen each other on the road, and competed against Tony with fighters like that I used to corner, like Lando Venata. And you know, Tony and I have just always been cool and cordial and talked about working together. And then last Sunday, he rolled into town, and we were able to get, 6-7 days worth of great work in over this past week. And it was just so cool to have Tony, and, having any of the great champs brings a certain light and vibe and aura to the gym. And so I just felt like everybody, the spirits were up, the mood was up, and you got a great champ on the mat like Tony pushing you. Everybody grinds a little harder. Everybody shows up a little earlier. Everybody gets a little more warmed up, and then it just made it for a great atmosphere.
That's amazing, man. Just out of curiosity, going back a little bit, why were you and Tony always on such good terms? Because Tony he's always had his camp, and he's sort of, structured things in a very specific way, and he's not really the kind of guy that, would maybe make friends with his opponent's coaches. So why did you guys kind of always hit it off and be on good terms?
I don't know. I think there's just a mutual respect there. And I feel like he's very coachable. We had a great week together, and he was open and receptive to not only learning, but to teaching us. I've learned so much from so many amazing fighters over the years. And so I try to be a sponge myself. And like Wednesday night, for example, I was teaching a big group class. The mats were packed, and we spent the last 10 minutes with Tony showing some really cool setups to his iconic Imanari roll. So not only is he a great student, but he's a great teacher. So it made for a really incredible week.
Wow. It's incredible, man, because like when Tony is on an event, you could see he brings a certain vibe to it for all the fighters. Like they're walking around being like, oh, it's Tony Ferguson, and he's going around kind of bringing those positive vibes to the day and the event. And now it's cool to see that in the gym, he's going into a packed class, showing his secrets. It's just incredible what kind of person he is in the ring and out of the ring. I'm wondering, man, like obviously he's on a little bit of a skid, but he looked great in that Michael Chandler fight until that kick happened. What do you think's kind of been missing from his last few fights and performances?
I wasn't there prior or during those fights, so it'd be hard for me to give any speculation. But what I will say is I think he's just on a quest for knowledge. Like he wants to push himself. He wants to be surrounded by the best. He wants to push himself with coaches and find areas that he can improve on in his game, which to me are all attributes that, helped make him a champion. So, I think if he just continues that quest and seeking out for his own improvement and brings that humble Bushido attitude that he carries with him, that, there's still a lot of good fights ahead of him that he can go and get his hand raised. I have no doubt about that.
Do you feel like he kind of fell into this trap? And we've seen some UFC fighters fall into it where they're loved by the fans so much and the UFC lean on them so much that he kind of ended up fighting some of the toughest, best fighters back to back without ever getting like a reset fight, without ever getting like a warm up fight, without ever getting a chance to go out there and try something new out against one of the best guys in the world. It looks like when you look at the guys that he's fought, it's like the craziest resume. When it's all said and done, it's one of the craziest resumes that you could ever look at when it comes to somebody fighting in that division.
Yeah, and it's hard to kind of reinvent your style or try new things when you're just always in that perennial top 5. And he is a fan favorite, right? And I think the fans have kind of fallen in love with this just stand and bang style he has. And there's so much more to his game. And sometimes it's hard. I think it's even especially hard for the wrestlers who fall in love with the knockout, not to continue to seek that knockout. You look at a guy like Kamaru Usman, and he was criticized early on in his career for kind of just having that grinder blanket style, and then they get some big knockouts, and then they fall in love with it. They continue to chase it. And I think Tony fell victim to that a little bit, where he was looking for all these, classic scraps, as opposed to, utilizing all of his amazing jiu-jitsu that helped make him a champion. So with that said, I want to help Tony get into the safest positions possible to utilize his skills where he has the biggest advantage and opportunity to get his hand raised. So, sometimes it's about helping these guys fight their own egos a bit.
Interesting. And how do you go about that from a coaching perspective? How do you go about, I imagine it's easy to coach someone who's brand new, fresh, doesn't have as many repetitions or tendencies. How do you go about coaching somebody like a Tony Ferguson, who you said is very coachable, but also, he has that style that is somewhat inbuilt in him. And I guess from your perspective, you're probably not trying to reinvent the wheel, right? You're probably just making some tweaks here and there and fine tuning.
Yeah, guys like Tony are already diamonds, so we just find little areas to polish on them, and it's a collaboration, right? It's not that they're not receptive to new ideas, but at this point, they have their skill set, they have their arsenal, they have the tools that they like to use. So my job is to collaborate with them to put them in the best positions possible, and maybe help refine the little steps that help get them there. So it is different than having a brand new student that you can kind of mold out of clay. These polished diamond guys, they have a lot of greatness in them. They have a lot of experience. So it really is more of a collaborative effort.
By the way, is it official? Like, will you be in Tony's corner for the next fight? And is he officially sticking around at Jackson Wink?
No, nothing official. We just had a great week together and good vibes. And I just wanted to open the doors and share my town with them, share the gym, let them meet the guys, and we'll see where it goes from here. He has his family and his base in California. He has his gym and his operations. So we'll just see where the options to collaborate again together in the future lie.
All right. It's a bit like courting. It's like, hey, who's this new guy in your life? It's like, hey, listen, we're just having fun. All right. Let's not put a label on it. One more thing.
Let's not put a label on it.
Let's just see where it goes. One more thing I would ask, right? Jackson Wink, typically has been known for your very extensive game plans and being very methodical about things. I would also say, how do you work around Tony, who is pretty wild in the cage? How would you see that element working as well?
I could see it working together well. He's very smart. He's very savvy. And I think guys at his level know that a game plan and a strategy do nothing but benefit them when you're fighting the top tier in the game. Everybody needs those competitive edges. And you're always going to have your skill set that you default to. But it's good to go in there with the game plan and the strategy. And we've seen it work for a lot of our athletes, and we've won a lot of UFC gold with it. So, I think it's just using every weapon in your arsenal.
Well, I love to see it, man. And it's always, you guys are always the gym that I was like, man, I'd love to see what would happen with Tony Ferguson if he went there. So exciting times ahead. Hey, man, let's just talk about you coaching for a second, because you have coached so many high-level legends for such a long time, for so many years, and you're a humble guy. You would never sort of go out and sort of pull your own horn. But how do you deal with being able to coach at such a high level for such a long time and holding pads for people, being able to deal with them, punching those pads at that kind of power and dealing with the injuries that come with it? How do you do it for such a long time, Brandon?
I think there's a lot of skill, a lot of technique that goes into it. A lot of passion, right? Like I have to find joy in it every day, not just the nights we win gold belts, but I have to find joy in going to the gym and just grinding. And I do. And over the 20 years that I've been involved with Jackson Wink, it hasn't always been that way, right? Just like anybody at any job. Sometimes there's fighters I've been like brothers with, and then you get to the point where you're butting heads, or there's really good relationships that you just keep harnessing and building as they evolve into something even greater. Like I would say Carlos Condit, for example, like him and I are going to be brothers forever. We're going to have a lifelong friendship, and martial arts was just the foundation of that. So I've also been fortunate when it comes to injuries. I think one benefit of training the best caliber fighters in the world is that they're so accurate. It's rare that they miss, so it makes my job a little easier. Believe it or not, sometimes I get hurt more training amateur-based fighters that as accurate. They can't maintain the rhythm. They can't maintain the consistency of a combination, and those are the guys I seem to get off kilt with, and then I'm the one that takes the injury. So I've found it fortunate to have worked with the best.
Yeah, man. No, we believe it, and we've seen it happen heaps of times. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to also work full time as well as coaching. Is that right?
Yeah, and I still do. I just coach.
Crazy.
I work in our city government. I work for the mayor. I help oversee a lot of operations here in our civic government, and then I just go into the gym at night and watch sparring and coach fighters one-on-one. So I try to keep my my stable of fighters a little smaller these days. As I've kind of climbed up the ranks in the government, I found myself working with less and less fighters. So now I'm primarily focused on Jon Jones and Aaron Pico, and those are my main two that I give my time and my energy and my efforts to.
That's nice, man. Like all the goodness is kind of condensed in a sense, but a massive amount of respect for still holding down a full-time job and coaching. MMA is crazy like that, man. I feel like there's very few people with full-time jobs in MMA. Like everyone's always got a side hustle or doing something else.
There's always a side hustle.
There's always a side hustle, sometimes multiples. But you mentioned Jon Jones, man, and obviously speaking of pads, like we saw the recent video of you holding them for Jon Jones. Man, what's the whole journey been like with you and working with Jon Jones all these years?
Man, Jon's the one that really put me on. I was working with pro fighters. I was working with a lot of amateur fighters, but after Jon beat Shogun Rua, Jon and I were already friends. We'd already been working together as martial artists. But in preparation for the Rampage Jackson fight, that was the first time that UFC fighter, much less a champion UFC fighter, said, "Hey, I want you on the team." And so UFC 135, I started working with Jon Jones, and we've never looked back since. We've won 15 belts together, and we're working on the 16th now.
I know. Well, the 16th is a long time coming. I have to ask you though, mate, because Jon Jones will put out footage out there, whether he's hitting pads or lifting weights. When you see some of the criticism coming about, Jon looks this or Jon looks that, and obviously we are in early days. He's not even in camp. But what do you make of some of the criticism? Jon looked a little bit slow on the pads or things like that. When deep down that guys, it's so early out from a fight. He's not at his sharpest yet.
Well, and we're not trying to show our sharpest work, right? Jon sometimes just likes, throw up a combination, kind of let everybody see where he's at. But we're not going for a speed record or some power record right now. All we care about is being ready when the bell rings on fight night. So I think it's cool when he shares a little snippet of that, but I don't let any fans' critique of Jon's mitt work get to me at all, because I know how it feels. I know how fast he is. I know how focused and dedicated he's been the last 2.5 years working towards this goal. So I don't mind if he shares something. I also don't mind if we just keep working in the shadows, because all that matters to me is that fight night. So, but believe me, Jon is hitting hard, and he's so skilled right now. His skill set's at an all-time high, and he has so much power and athleticism and stamina on top of it all. I think the fans are going to be really, really shocked and surprised when they see him at heavyweight.
I have to ask, yeah, you mentioned the power. How different would you describe the power now with all the extra weight and all the extra training compared to when he was at light heavyweight? You've been holding pads for him for such a long time. How would you describe that power difference?
I mean, you think of fighters going up in a weight class and, they always put on size and mass and power. You look at Conor from his 145 days going up to lightweight, going up to welterweight, and that's a 25-pound difference. Jon Jones is in, his weight is up there right now, and it's much more than 25 pounds. So he is hitting extremely hard and extremely accurate and technical and fast. I've trained a lot of amazing heavyweights. I've trained Arlovsky and Overeem and Frank Mir and Travis Brown. And Jon Jones is more powerful, explosive, creative, dynamic than all of them. So
wow.
I can't wait to see Jon make that walk at heavyweight. It's going to be something truly, truly special, and I'm humbled to be a part of it.
Hey, just on that, is there a weight that you guys are targeting to be at for the fight? Like, is there a sort of weight range that you'd like to be at?
Yeah, I think Jon has an idea in his mind, and I'm not going to share that exact number, but over the last 2 years, the weights, we've played with some different weights. We've done little mini camps and seen kind of where Jon is the best of all the attributes that we're looking for. So, yeah, I think Jon has a number in mind that we're working towards hitting on fight night.
I got to ask Brandon, and I'd love to get your perspective on this, obviously, but why do you think that this move to heavyweight has been such an important thing for Jon to do? Like, it seems like, obviously, if he retired today, there's no doubt about it. He's one of the GOATs. He's accomplished so much at light heavyweight. And somebody in his position, could potentially just fight out at light heavyweight and just be the GOAT and be the best light heavyweight champion to ever do it, and arguably one of the best champions of all time. Why do you think this move to heavyweight has been so important to him? It looks like, he's taken a couple of years to really sort of get his body different, to really change things up, to really make this move.
Yeah, I think it's that's the most prized title in all of combat sports, being the heavyweight champion. That's the baddest man on the planet. So I agree that if Jon retired today, he's the greatest. But I think Jon wants to cement that legacy where there is no talk about Adesanya or Habib or Fedor or anybody else. It's just Jon Jones, and I think winning this heavyweight belt will truly do that for him, for his legacy. And you know what? You look at Muhammad Ali, and one of the things that made him so remembered is he went and fought these guys that were unbeatable, guys like George Foreman, and he went and beat them. And that's something that's made him a legend all these years later. And Jon taking on these goals and going after guys like Stipe and Francis, that's something that when Jon wins, it's going to cement his legacy, and people are going to talk about him for generations to come.
100%. And you mentioned Stipe. Obviously, we know it's supposed to be him and Stipe this year at MSG. What ultimately was the delay for this one?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I like working off goals and timelines, or at least understanding. But we're just controlling what we can control, and that's working hard right now. So I don't know what the delay has been with Stipe. I don't really care. I just can't wait for a date and a contract, because we're going to pick it up another gear. And we've been working towards this goal for a long time. And, man, our sights are on this prize, and we're going to go out there, and Jon's going to make a statement in dominating fashion. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I saw Jon said something that was like Stipe needed a little bit more time, so the fight couldn't come together from that perspective. But I'm wondering, who do you think is the more dangerous fight for Jon, Stipe or Francis?
Stipe is the greatest heavyweight champion in UFC history. Very well-rounded, lots of championship experience. He's shown so much resiliency, like in the trilogy with DC, and his ability to come back. And Stipe's, has victory over Francis as well. He's a great, well-rounded martial artist who's powerful, who has devastating knockout power in both hands. Yeah, and then, Francis just has that X factor, his size, his strength, and he can sleep anybody from any stance, from any angle. He doesn't need to be balanced. He can be punching off his back foot. It doesn't matter. So, they both have their challenges in their own unique ways. And we're going to have to take each of them very differently. But Jon Jones has the skill set to get his hand raised in both of those bouts. There's no doubt in my mind about it. There's nobody like Jon at heavyweight. Nobody as dynamic, as fast, as gifted in all of the disciplines as Jon is. So, and his IQ's off the chart. Not to say that these other guys aren't smart, brilliant fighters, but Jon Jones's IQ and comprehension of this game is unlike anybody else's in the world.
Oh, for sure. Do you think we ever see the Ngannou fight? I mean, it was teased for such a long time. It was looked at as just such a massive, massive heavyweight fight, almost the crescendo. And, with Ngannou's contract situation and then the timelines, do you think it ever happens?
I hope so. That's a goal we want to see. That's a fight we want. So we'll see how things go with the contracts and Tyson Fury and all of that. But Jon Jones is going to be one of the biggest fights on the planet for Francis. So I'm sure Francis knows that, and I'm sure Francis wants it too, and we look forward to that day.
Yeah, I know that a lot of fans are pretty disappointed with the UFC for not willing to pay to put that fight together. I wonder as well, do you think there's any chance we see Jon back at light heavyweight, especially with a couple of new challenges there like Jiri in the division, or do you think that's all said and done now?
Yeah, I think that's a done deal. Jon spent so much time the past 2+ years transforming his body into this heavyweight body. I don't think there's a way he gets back to light heavyweight, nor does he want to. I think he's focused on these heavyweight goals and finishing out his career at heavyweight, but I'd never say never to anything. I've seen a lot of champs kind of bounce around in weight classes.
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, Jon's mindset has only been on heavyweight. So, we're Yuri's exciting and Jan's exciting and Glover's exciting. And, there's a lot of great fights at light heavyweight. And it would be cool to speculate how Jon would do against those guys. But that's not where our mindset or focus has been.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, we're going to check your mindset on somebody else in just a second. But before we do, lads, listen, Father's Day here in Australia is just around the corner. And our good friends at Manscaped are here to ensure that all the father figures out there are looking daddy material this June, or sugar daddy material. Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0, which includes their signature lawnmower 4.0, is the perfect bundle to tackle any and all old man hair from head to toe. This right here is no dad joke. Treat him and yourself and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code submission at manscaped.com. Trust me, this, million surgeries later, dad bod will thank you. And of course, the Performance Package 4.0 comes with the lawnmower itself. It comes with the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver ball toners, so you're smelling fantastic. The Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, free underwear, free bag, free gifts. What's not to love? Isn't that right, Dennis?
Dude, the ear and nose hair trimmer for your dad. Imagine that. Imagine the game changer. I know whenever, you're seeing the older guys around, you're like, dude, you're looking good, but if you could just get rid of that huge one long hair that's coming out of your nose, it's bothering me, man. It's bothering me. And they're walking around trying to shave it with their normal shavers. Change it up forever. That is just one little thing that will change their life. Obviously, the Lawnmower 4.0, one of the best in the game as well. Make sure to get that 20% off and free shipping with a code word submission now. And guys, this weekend, honestly, I'm very excited. Friend of the show, Luke Rockhold, he's making a big comeback against Paulo Costa. And of course, you got Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman as well on the card, as well as some really fun favorites here from Tyson Pedro, UFC 278. And there's only one place to go to really make some money on those fights. That's with our friends at MyBookie, of course. You can double your first deposit when you sign up with a code word submission. Let's have a look at the odds just real quick. At the time of recording, Luke Rockhold right now, plus 241. Paulo Costa, minus 312. Very interesting one right there. Leon Edwards, you got at plus 273, and Kamaru Usman at a minus 350. 57. Where are you going to put your money? You're going to try and make those big bets this weekend. Sign up with the code word submission and double that deposit now, Cass.
By the way, it is summer at the moment, and everybody on Instagram that I see, at least from this part of the world, is in Bali. They're traveling. Yeah. They want to get out of this cold, shitty, wintry Melbourne weather and go somewhere more warm and tropical. So if you are looking to travel, don't forget, if you use a VPN like NordVPN and you change your geolocation, you can, in fact, get cheaper flights. Obviously, flights cost different things, different prices, depending on which country you're in. So if you can fool your internet browser into thinking that you are from that country, you'll get cheaper flights. We did it for our flights at UFC 2. Was it 46? The one with Connor and Cerrone. Also, apparently, Mexican Netflix is cheaper. So if you make a computer think you're in Mexico, you're now paying less for Netflix. All weekend, I was downloading stuff. You know, sometimes like you're trying to download, games or whatever. It comes in like a million parts, and you got to download it from free file hosting websites. And it's like you download a 1 gig file, then you got to wait like 6 hours until you can download again because, I don't want to pay for that. But with a VPN, you just change your VPN as soon as you finish downloaded, and that download limit resets. So I've been doing it all weekend, and it's great. There's a whole bunch of awesome hacks that you can do with a VPN like NordVPN. Also, in this day and age where, data is crucial and people are always trying to steal your data, NordVPN blocks anybody, including your internet service provider, from monitoring what you're looking at on the internet or what you're going at. You see all those pesky ads everywhere. People can, you can block that all out so that people are not seeing what you're looking at. Best apps in the game. You can use it on your phone, Android, iPhone, laptop, anything you want, and you can even use it on your TV as well. NordVPN, simply the best. Isn't that right, Dennis? And also, no speed throttling or buffering when watching videos. So it's not a VPN that's going to slow you down when you're watching Netflix. You can still watch in 4K, and you won't notice any dropout in speed. It is thebomb.com.
Yeah, man. Listen, right now it's kind of like we're going back in time as well. I just got to quickly mention, I've been watching this show. It's called The Bear. It's one of my favorite shows of the year. It doesn't drop in Australia till the 31st of August. Out in America, it's already been out for a really long time. And this is a perfect example where you get your VPN. You're actually able to watch a show a few months before it comes out here. I think The Old Man with Jeff Bridges as well. Same deal. So make sure to jump on right now. Check out all your favorite shows, subscriptions, coverage, stuff that's not available here in Australia, New Zealand, or even in America from other countries. You guys can jump on this incredible deal. Get ready for this. Okay, at time of recording, obviously it's August 15th here in Australia. But from August the 17th, you can grab your exclusive NordVPN deal where you get a huge discount. I'm talking about a massive discount. Plus, you guys ready for this? 4 months for free. 4 months for free. I'm talking about 4 horsemen for free. 4 months for free, completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Of course, if you go to nordvpn.com/submission or click the link in the description below, huge discount off your plan, plus 4 months for free. I mean, it just does not get any better right now. It's a great show summer coming up here in Australia. You guys got to jump on it right now. Go to NordVPN and change your life forever. I got to also mention this guy. You brought up Adesanya earlier. Obviously unbelievable run at middleweight, one of the best middleweight champions of all time. He's really changed the game. I wonder, do you ever see that fight between him and Jon going down just from the perspective of legacies? You've got one guy, obviously, who's considered to be the GOAT, and Jon Jones. You've got one guy here, an Adesanya, who's considered to be a future GOAT, or somebody that's already sort of pound for pound one of the best to ever do it in the fans' eyes. So from a fight perspective and the feud perspective, that's there. But obviously they're in different sizes. I know Adesanya's mentioned that he'd be happy to move up to heavyweight to fight a Jon Jones. But do you actually see a fight like that ever happening before it's all said and done for Jon?
I mean, I'd love it. I'm sure they'd sell a lot of pay-per-views, and that would be that'd be a fun one for Bones. I know he'd love to make that a dirty fight and bust him up worse than he did Brandon Vera. So yeah, I would love to see that fight one day. I won't put that one out.
I'd love to get from your perspective, obviously as one of the best coaches in the world, like, when you see Adesanya do his thing, talk to us about some of the special stuff that you see him do, because he's one of those guys that doesn't come around very often when it comes to fighting. Just like there's a few similarities between him and Jon in the sense they're both really special fighters that are never going to come around, like a once in a generation type situation?
Yeah, I mean, Israel has amazing eyes. You know, he's also brilliant when it comes to this game. Like his ability to judge speed and time and range and angles and level changes is very unique. And you know, he's already become a dominant champ at middleweight. I think he has some of the best feints in the game. He's so good at using his feints to create the openings, and in that split second, depending on the opponent's reaction to that feint, identifying the opening and taking it. So just ultra sharp defense, and he doesn't have any big drastic movements. It's not like that dominant cruise style that we saw last night where he almost over dips, over slips. Israel's just pinpoint making guys miss by a millimeter. So that's something I really admire in his style and in his game, and there's elements of it that have definitely inspired me to try to put little sprinkles of that with my own fighters.
Oh, nice. Do you? I know when people look at that fight with Jones and Adesanya, they feel like, oh, well, Jones will just take him down. But do you think Jones can beat Israel on the feet if the fight were to ever happen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, John's gone toe-to-toe with some of the best strikers in the game's history. Guys like Machida and Rampage and Shogun and Alexander Gustafsson. And, you know, John can hang with any of these guys. And John, with the power and the skill set that he's really developed over the last 2 years, I think he's going to surprise a lot of opponents, teams, and a lot of fans when he gets in there and gets to showcase his new skill set.
Yeah, Brandon, we appreciate the time. Last question from me, from us, and then we'll let you go. And it's a Sunday over there. You got the zoo going. You're driving around. We really appreciate it. I got to ask your perspective from one of the best striking minds in the game. This UFC 281 fight between Adesanya and Pereira. Fascinating situation here. Two guys that have fought each other twice already in kickboxing. Obviously, Alex has that knockout over Israel, but those fights were very dominant for Israel before that knockout happened. Now it happens in MMA, completely different sport in a lot of ways. How are you feeling about this fight when you think about it? Just, you're not involved in it, obviously, but it's got to be like a very fascinating situation for you looking at these guys about to compete.
Yeah, just as a fan, I think we're fortunate to be able to get to see this trilogy play out in a new sport. In a sport Israel's been so dominant. It's intriguing. It really is. And Alex has shown that he's already a force, and those 4-ounce gloves and that left hook of his are terrifying, right? I think Adesanya, though, in the octagon, in a 5-round fight, in 5-minute rounds, with all of his experience and his tools and just his overall skill set, it's hard not to give him the edge. And you know, one thing that I think is required to become a great champion and defend your belt multiple times is being able to check your own ego, right? And not want to stand toe and toe and prove that you're the better kickboxer, but prove that you're the best mixed martial artist. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Adesanya applies that. He could win it in a, you know, standard kickboxing style. He's shown he has his own power and his own amazing kickboxing skill set. But, you know, will we see Israel shoot? Will we see him use the cage? Will we see him find opportunities to grapple and use his ground and pound and his submission repertoire? It's going to be interesting to see. But I think you have to give the edge to the champ.
No, perfectly put, man. I can't wait to see that one. But guys, here he is, Brandon Gibson, first time on Submission Radio. Make sure to follow him on Instagram at Brandon Gibson and at SixGun Gibson on Twitter. Dude, it's such an honor to speak to you again. An honor and privilege for us just to have you on the show. And we appreciate you taking some time out of your Sunday to join the boys from Submission Radio. Can't wait to see what happens next for Jon, Tony, and everybody else, Aaron Pico. Guys, make sure to follow Brandon to see all the latest updates and see what happens next. Brandon, thank you so much yet again.
Guys.